Over the last 10 years, ARK, the game I love, has changed. Hello Dodo crew and welcome back for another video on ARK Survival Ascended. Many new creatures have been added to the game and most old creatures have been changed. But some creatures have not changed at all. In this video I go over the top 10 creatures that have become useless over the years and in my opinion need a TLC. Grab a bottle of water and let's get straight into it. Starting the list with my number 10, the Compy. The addition of the Compy in November 2015 makes it one of the oldest creatures you can find in the game and the first official shoulder pet. And the Compy, it sucks. It is probably the most useless shoulder pet you can tame in the entire game. Almost every other creature you can carry with you deals more damage, has better abilities, or makes you faster. In addition, the design of the Compy is simply boring, outdated and way too simple compared to so many other creatures you can find on the ARK. There is literally not a single situation where I would choose a Compy over a Pyromane, Cosmo or an Otter, as those options are not only 10 times better, they are like 1 million times better, as the Compy simply has no usage in the whole game. Calling the Compy useless is the biggest understatement of all time regarding ARK. For real, I would bet that you wouldn't even recognize it if Wildcard simply decides to remove it from the game without telling anyone. So in my opinion, what would a TLC for the Compy look like? First of all, the Compy needs a latching attack, where one or more Compys latch onto an enemy to slow the enemy depending on how many Compys are attached to the enemy. More Compys means more slow. At the same time, they can bite the enemy and do a small percentage of damage to the enemy depending on the amount. The mechanics of getting the Compys down could be similar to the leeches or cats. At the same time, Compys could camouflage themselves in tall grass or bushes to attack their opponents from there. Without having to kill an opponent, they could bite out pieces of flesh from the opponent, jump down and return to the base after a short time. Finally, the Compy needs a visual overhaul, and that's it. This is my personal top 10, and I will mainly focus on tames which are pretty much useless in PvP because they are simply too weak to compete with other creatures in the same niche. In 9th place we got the Sarco. To call the Sarco useless would be an overstatement. But let's be honest, when was the last time you tamed the Sarco and then actually used it for anything useful? Right, it was never. To be honest, the Sarco has already received a TLC, and we have to face reality, it didn't help much. Actually, we need to be more precise, the Sarco has already had its second update, because the Dinosuchus is everything the Sarco will never be. I don't understand why we're getting a second crocodile that is 1,000,000 times better than the existing one, instead of the existing one simply being made better. The Dinosuchus is faster, stronger and 1,000 times better than the Sarco, and in my last PvP wipe I tamed more Dinosuchus in 3 days than I've tamed Sarcos in the last 10 years of ARK. So in my opinion, what would a TLC for the Sarco look like? We start with the existing death roll. This needs to be able to grab small to medium sized creatures and then either inflict bleeding damage while they're grabbed, or similar to the Sith, grab the creature to either pull them into water or even both. At the same time, some sort of underwater stealth ability would be a possible change, which could allow you to hide your Sarcos underwater, as long as they hover without moving. These small changes would ensure that a pack of Sarcos as a defense is a must for any base that has a water part or is underwater. On a side note, as of I'm editing this, I'm at about 3k subs. If you could sub to help me reaching my goal of 10k subs by the end of the year, I would greatly appreciate it. At number 8 we have the most boring water creature in the entire game, the Megalodon. Despite its bleeding damage, there are actually very few reasons for you to tame a Meg. The Meg is not really fast, the damage is only okay, and its HP stat isn't that high either. It's an all-rounder, but before I tame a Meg, I'd rather get an Ichthyi and go straight for taming an Angler, Donkey or a Mosa. For real, there's not a single reason why you should tame a Meg over any other creature. And if you're wondering why the Plesiosaurus is even worse than the Meg, be sure to check out the linked video. So what would a TLC look like? I mean, the Megalodon for real only needs one good ability, and that would be enough to make it a balanced creature again. I mean, this thing is a shark, and sharks are basically a living radar system. If a Megalodon shows you wounded creatures underwater, marks them, and at the same time has some kind of blood rage in which it becomes faster, does more damage, and maybe even gets less damage, that would be enough to make it really cool again. And a must tame for everyone who builds a base underwater. In 7th place I got the Megalania. Not only is this thing useless, there's absolutely no reason to tame this creature. The only reason this creature exists is because Wildcat needed a creature to drop one of many boss attributes. And this is sad. I love dinosaurs and I love lizards, and it makes me sad when I see how useless the Megalania is. There's just no legit reason to tame a Megalania. It would be so easy to build a cool creature out of it. I mean, the Megalania produces poison. Why doesn't the Megalania in the inventory also produce narcotics and Megalania poison? Then it would be directly useful again, and it would make sense to tame it. You could also make some slow acting poison ability that automatically kills the poisoned creature if you don't craft and use an antidote. This would not only make a wild Megalania more dangerous, but also buff Megalania in PvP significantly. If they just bite creatures once, they're then poisoned and automatically die after 30 minutes. Or their maximum HP drops by half as long as they're not healed with some antidote. I mean, these are just a few of my ideas, but for real, you could be creative and it would be so easy to make the Megalania great again. As of I'm talking to you, the current wipe is running on the RTR 10x PvP cluster, and I'm in it. So if you like PvP and think you're better than me, join now and clap me. The Diplodocus takes my 6th place. There is no denying it. This creature is simply useless. Give me one sane reason to tame this creature and I will raid someone with a horde of Diplos. This creature has literally no health, does absolutely no damage. Its knockback ability is simply terrible and there's no reason to tame one. Which is a shame, because I love this creature. I know that this creature isn't made to be particularly useful, but let's be honest, the Diplo isn't just useless. Diplos are one of the most useless creatures in the game, and if they weren't in the game, nothing would change. And to change that, we don't even have to make the Diplo itself stronger. I would simply give the Diplo a passive ability and that's it. In a herd as a herd leader, it provides support for nearby herbivores. Tamed herbivores gain increased damage resistance, while wild herbivores no longer free but remain neutral. And that would be enough to put it in my team for killing the Alpha Dragon. In 5th place, I got the Bronto. Okay, the Bronto is controversial. He's actually not even that useless, he's just not up to date anymore. He's the best berry farmer, and it's still fun to crash boosted unofficial servers with just a few hits. The thing is, for being the biggest herbivore and the counterpart to the Rex, it is still pretty useless compared to the usages of other creatures. I would for real never tame a Bronto. They're cool to look at, but that's about it. At some point I will have enough berries one way or the other, and most unofficial servers block the taming of Brontos anyway. In other words, even if I wanted to tame a Bronto, I couldn't do it anyway, so why bothering? So, what would a TLC look like? I honestly have no damn clue. I've been thinking about the Bronto for a really long time now, and I legit cannot think of anything other than a buff similar to Yuti's Roar. Since I'm stuck here, how do you think the Bronto could be reworked to make it more useful in the game? 4th place goes to the Trudons. I actually think the wild version of the Trudons is pretty cool. Even experienced players hate it when they run through the forest and a few wild Trudons run after them in the night with their glowing eyes only to knock them out. But actually it's really hard to tame them because they just stand around in the base like compies and can't really be used for anything. I mean, the Trudon for real only needs one good ability and that would be enough to make it a balanced creature again. If a Trudon shows you wounded creatures, marks them, and at the same time has some kind of blood rage in which it becomes faster, does more damage, and maybe even gets less damage, that would be enough to make it a really cool creature again. Before we go into the top 3, leave me a like and a comment. This not only makes me happy, but also boosts the algorithm. Third place goes to the Dimetrodon. You're now asking yourself, the Dimetro what? Yes, exactly that thing. The thing with the sail on its back in the water. And no, that's a Spino. That's actually useful. I mean the thing from the swamp that nobody tames. Why? Because it's absolutely useless. Yes, I know it's an air conditioner. But do you know what else is an air conditioner? Exactly, an air conditioner. And it doesn't block me while I'm running around my base. Let's be honest. Why would I tame a Dimetrodon when I can just put an air conditioner in my base? For real, I don't even know how to tame it because I haven't tamed it once in my entire time of playing ARK. So what would a TLC look like? The Dimetrodon still regulates temperature, but now generates a larger and more dynamic heat aura. Tamed Dimetrodons would generate a warming or cooling aura that increases the stamina and health regeneration of nearby tames, while nearby enemies or wild creatures suffer from reduced stamina, slower movement speed and health regeneration, depending on the temperature. This would give it a more supportive role in combat. The second place, the Gigantopithecus, is actually really good already, but I had such a good idea for an update that I had to add it to the list. So now, I'm making up a few points to badmouth the monkey, so I can suggest a better variant. My video, my rules. But for real, the monkey is really quite good. It's fast, does good damage, and it's really funny to use. What it lacks are two things. First, it would be so cool if he could just have his own set of armor, not just a helmet, but a whole set of armor pieces. The second thing is that monkeys are smart enough to use tools, so what if you could show the monkey how to use a pickaxe or an axe and then just send him to farm like Survivor Mate? I mean, wouldn't that just be amazing? Before we get to my number 1, here are some honorable mentions, and I'm talking about all the aquatic creatures. I mean, since most of the game takes place on the surface, okay, but most of the aquatic creatures like Plesios are just outdated and not useful anymore. If you want to see more creatures that need a TLC, check out the linked video. First place goes to the Wyvern. Don't get me wrong, I love the design and they're not that bad, but they're not good either. Especially with Meguanas, but also with a lot of other creatures, the Wyverns are getting worse and worse every patch. Or not actually worse, they just get replaced by better creatures, which is also the reason why Wyverns eventually stop being played. The biggest drawback is the lack of speed in the air. Almost all creatures like Griffin and Meguana are simply many times faster and therefore impossible to catch when flying with a Wyvern. But Wildcat actually has already solved this problem. Many creatures, especially the new ones, already have a dive, so why not the Wyvern? Adding a dive to the Wyvern would instantly turn it back into one of the best flying creatures you can tame, and the flyer meta would look completely different. I hope you liked this video and I'm thrilled to read if this video has helped you. Hit the like button, leave me a comment below for the algorithm and consider subbing to the channel. Alright, Frodo.